Flame of fire, spark of the universe that warmed our ancestral hearth, agent of life and death, symbol of truth and freedom, we strive to understand ourselves in our earthly home. Please stand for those who are able to stand for our opening song, Steadfast Love. Gather, may your spirit work within us. As we gather, may we glorify your name. Knowing well that as our hearts begin to worship, we'll be blessed because we came. We'll be blessed because we came. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness. The steadfast love of the Lord never ceases. God's mercies never come to an end. They are new every morning, new every morning. Great is thy faithfulness, O Lord. Great is thy faithfulness.
Labing kamahalan at nalay ko na mga Diyos ng dapit sa karaponon ang nakanil sa among pagsaprisyo ayan sa kaswagan ang mga sa karando ay nasiba ganing pagsalanan sa kanimo sa kanan ayuan sa kanamo o sa mga panalangin ng hindi kaabot sa kanamo isang basa sa ayuan sa usap sa pangawas niyan di kasanakan dahil sa pinagi kanimo o sa muhutong anak.
Amen. Please be seated. Our responsive reading this afternoon is entitled Out of the Stars. Out of the stars in their flight, out of the dust of eternity, here we have come. Stardust and sunlight mingling through time and through space.
Out of the stars have we come, out from time, out of the stars have we come.
Time out of time, before time in the vastness of space. Earth spun to orbit the sun, Earth with the thunder of mountains newborn, the boiling of seas.
Earth warmed by sun, lit like sunlight. This is our home, out of the stars have we come.
Mystery hidden in mystery, back through all time, mystery rising from rocks in the storm and the sea.
Out of the stars, rising from rocks and the sea, kindled by sunlight on earth, arose light.
Ponder this thing in your heart, ponder with awe. Out of the sea to the land, out of the shallow came ferns.
Out of the sea to the land, out of darkness to light, rising to walk and to fly, out of the sea, trembled light.
Ponder this thing in your heart, life up from sea, eyes to behold, throats to sing, mates to love.
Light from the sea, warmed by sun, washed by rain, light from within, giving birth, rose to love.
This is the wonder of time. This is the marvel of space. Out of the stars swung the earth, life upon earth rose to love. This is the marvel of life, rising to see and to know. Out of your heart, cry wonder, sing that will live. And that is our responsive reading this afternoon. And now let us proceed to our message through song. Love will guide us. Love will guide us, peace will stride us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from great to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. If you cannot sing like angels, if you cannot speak before thousands, you can give from deep within you. You can change the world with your love. Love will guide us, peace will stride us, hope inside us, will lead the way on the road from great to giving. Love will guide us through the hard night. Okay, now let us hear what will be Dr. Ray McKnight's discussion this afternoon.
I'll get there. Where's the wheelchair?
You can actually sit, just sit.
Oh, okay. I'll put that in front of me.
Oh yeah, sure.
Then you can't see me. Oh. Okay, this happened pretty quickly. We actually had a nice discussion in the office the other day,
Yeah.
and it was about the dark night of the soul. So I said I could, since I'm an expert on the dark night of the soul, I said I could probably say a few words on it. I found this. This is the start of a book I wrote probably 20 years ago. And basically, what it says is the way, the way to lead life is elusive. And it comes with a lot of spiritual warnings. And eventually, it seems we fall into a dark pit. And here's a quote. The person that talked about Dark Night of the Soul was John of the Cross. And he actually had a dark night of the soul. In fact, he was threatened with, they were going to burn him at the stake, but unfortunately for the Inquisition, he died the night before. They were pretty upset. Anyway, he said, the dark night is the path through which each soul must pass on its way to the divine light. And my next inscription is at the Holocaust Memorial in Washington. The world will make you suffer. Be brave. And I have a few more quotes. Anyway, I told you I'm writing a book for grade 1 to 9. And grade 9, the discussion would be one of the questions would be, what is the night of the soul? And I'm going to provide some literature where people have talked about it. So I'm just going to read a few things that have been said about it. Khalil Gibran. Anybody know Khalil Gibran? He's a very Lebanese poet. He was actually, after Shakespeare, he was the third most read English author. When I was in university, every university student had a copy of The Prophet by Khalil Gibran. It was just one of them. Anyway, he said something. I can't find his quote. Anyway, he had an interesting dark night of the soul. He died at the he had such inspirational words, and he died at the age of 32, and life was just too tough for him. He just couldn't take what was going on around him, and he really drank himself to death. So he died of alcoholism at the age of 32, and he had some of the most beautiful words ever written. So some people's lives is the dark night of the soul. Actually, one of my favorite, let's see if anyone recognizes this one. Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. That's Armenian. Anybody remember seeing that? Eli, Eli, lama sabachthani. What's interesting about yeah, do you recognize it?
Yeah.
That's actually the only part of the Bible where Jesus speaks in Armenian, right? That's his. Yeah, and that's his last word. And now there's a dark night of the soul because his last words are my God, why did you forsake me? So it's generally recommended try to avoid having your dark night of the soul in your last moment. I think that's one of the most complex part of the Christian literature to really understand. I suspect he was misquoted. But anyway, it says it was his last words on 9 hours at the cross. And here's from the Lao Tzu. The path into the light seems dark. The path forward seems to go back. The path seems long. The power seems weak. The Tao seems nowhere to be found. Yet it still continues to nourish us. This is a North American Indian, black elk. The good road and the road of difficulty where they meet, this is the holy place. And then I'm going to talk about Keats, the poet, said, there's a space in life in which the soul is in torment. Spinoza, suffering ceases when we form a clear and precise picture of it. So I think we all go through rough times in life, but I think it's good to remember that maybe that's what you need to go through. It's a little tough to believe when you're in it, but it doesn't hurt to know. Anyway, the English language actually has two words that are spelled adversity. The first word is adversity, which is the tough things in life. But the original word was actually two words. It's ad-verse. And ad means toward and verse the universe. So your adversity is what points you toward the universe. In other words, if you like this theory, the universe knows you're suffering, and it's like, well, you need it. When you treat somebody depressed and you tell them that, they don't see the humor in it.
Of course.
But yeah, I always sit near the door when you're doing psychological counseling. This first thing they said in in psychiatry. They said, when you go into the room, make sure you're sitting close to the door.
Eventuality, at least you're close.
Yeah, yeah. And part of my book, I talk about my psychiatric training, because if you're going to be a minister, you really need psychiatric training, because everybody you see is going to be nuts. So anyway, that's where I hope the book will be helpful for kids as they go through school. That I tell everybody you should go to medical school, and parts of my book are what happened to me in medical school. So if people get to the grade 9 level, I'll have shared just some of my experiences. And one of the tricks in psychiatry, the end result is you're working on somebody that's very depressed. What are you trying to get them to see? Well, you're trying to point out to them that if you feel connected to the universe, you can't have depression. They don't exist together. Once you know you have a connection to the universe, now, I didn't know this until last year, so it takes you a while to get it. But, all right. I was going to read you a couple stories about people that. One of my favorite people I wrote down here was Abraham Lincoln. And Abraham Lincoln probably had more depression in his life than anybody I've ever known. I mean, but he was one of the most enlightened souls that ever lived. So if you happen to be lucky enough to have a massive amount of depression, you are going to be so bright. Just thank your lucky stars. This is from the book by Bob Richardson. He wrote the book on Emerson, William James. He was a member of my Key West congregation. He was the smartest person I ever met. Anyway, here's what he wrote about William James. By his mid-20s, William James already had a remarkable capacity to convert misery and unhappiness into intellectual and emotional growth. It would then be a little over another 2 years until he hit the bottom of the pit. So that's William James. Descartes, he's a famous philosopher, had a nervous breakdown, as did David Hume, who was his friend, as do many brilliant people when young. It's almost a passage for creative growth. And William James said, believe that life is worth living and your belief will help create it. One of my favorite conversations is Frederick Douglass and Sojourner Truth. I consider all these people Unitarians. They're Unitarian thinkers. And Frederick Douglass was a slave that had escaped to the north, and Sojourner Truth was a slave that was escaped to the north. And she asked him, she says, does the righteous guide govern the universe? Is God dead? And the amazing thing about both their stories is when they talk about escaping slavery, especially Frederick Douglass, he didn't escape until he was about 20. And his life had become really brutal, and he had an owner that was just beating him all the time. And he said the light almost went out. He just thought it was over. And then he said one night the voice came and said, run now there. Just told him it was time to go. And he was able to escape. Same with Sojourner Truth. She just waited for that voice that said, now's the time, go. So they all had, being slaves, pretty impressive dark nights of the soul. So the one thing I think you can take out of my talk is, for some reason, the universe isn't fair. I mean, why do people have such terrible dark nights? And like me, I've had terrible dark nights, but there were nothing. There were nothing burgers. I thought they were big deals, but it's just basic. I don't know. Has anybody had experiences with dark night of the soul?
Yeah.
No, I guess I think everybody's has that.
Yeah.
Like for example, for me personally, I think well that's when my mother died. I think that's one of my darkest struggles in life, I guess. So I thought it would be over, you know. I feel like killing myself because I lost my mother, but yeah, I think it has reasons why does it happen. Then yeah, so eventually I accepted the fact that she's gone, and yeah, continue to live the life that I have right now.
I it was funny when my mother died. I spoke at the funeral, and the strange thing about my mother, she was a saint. And I said that to my sister at the funeral, and she said, "You know, she was, wasn't she?" Yeah. My mother was perfect. I mean, I had the best mother anyone ever had. But I had no tears at the end because after she died, I was about 3 hours after she died. I said, "Mom, are you okay?" And I got a message from the heaven. It was a visual message, no words, but I just got a message. I knew she was okay. You know, I knew she was. If anybody survives death, I knew she would do it, and she could send me back a message. So this is a good point. Sometimes you do what is called grief counseling, and a lot of people have grief over a death. And I'd like to point out to you that the problem with the modern UU movement is that most modern UUs believe there's no consciousness after death. Believe it or not, it's something like 70%. And that's where modern science has misled us because actually, science actually teaches the opposite. I'm going to get into that on Sunday, but in grade one, what are you? You're a psyche. You're the information in your head. Well, that information is just a form of energy. And the universe has a problem with you. They can't get rid of you. You really can't get rid of energy. So when someone dies, that energy is still here. And that's basic science for 2,000 years. It's only modern science that said, oh, if you fall into a black hole, they had a discussion. Oh, what happens if you fall in a black hole, that just sucks you in and you're gone. And most scientists agreed you're sucked into a black hole, all your information is still here. You can't get rid of it. You're stuck with it. And the interesting thing to tell people about grief counseling is, and you don't know it's not true, that if the person that left is able to see what's going on here and you're continuing in grief, you're ruining their afterlife. And that's kind of a selfish thing to do. So after people die, you really have an obligation to yourself and to the person that left to live the best life you can. So that's a good counseling point, I think. Has anybody ever had to counsel people that were?
Yeah. Formally, a little bit.
Oh, okay. Well, you got your whole life ahead of you, so you're going to run into some people. And this is where terminology is really important because there's two concepts. Believe it or not, joy and sorrow are connected together. That's Khalil Gibran. And he said, that in life which brought you joy is now that which brought you sorrow. So you cannot have one without the other. We have the word grief because some people take their sorrow too far. Now that's where you have grief counseling because they've gotten out of the sorrow joy frame. In other words, when you remember somebody, remember the joy along with the sorrow. So that's one of the reasons, things in the book is that our words in our lives are important. And if our words are wrong, like I said on the title here, adversity, just remember it's a hyphenated word. And when you're having a difficult time, you're being pointed toward the universe. Anyway, that's part of the book I'm going to share eventually. Like I said, I wrote this 20 years ago, and it's still, I still haven't published it. Um, any other comments to make?
Okay, it's nice. Yeah, because sometimes we didn't realize that things like the way we believe it, that things happen for a reason or things happen for a purpose. Sometimes it's gives us redirection in our lives. Those adversities, those challenges that happen along the way. You have focused on this goal, but something had happened that you redirect your life rather than spend your energy breathing for something that you lose, but rather redirect your energy into something that might be waiting for you, might be a bigger opportunity, might be a better opportunity that eventually you will realize in yourself that those things that happen leads you to something better. I guess personally, that's an experience. Like for the longest time, I questioned my God, why all these things happening to me, and then eventually, yeah, it leads me to where I am now. Become minister, involved in the church. For the longest time, when I was young, I dreamed of migrating to Canada. When I was in my earlier years after college, like all of my friends, we've been processing, our papers to migrate to Canada, and some of them are already there, and I was left, redirected into something different path. I guess so. Yeah, I mean that's I guess a good realization. Rather than to be depressed, rather than to kill yourself, think about ending your life because you didn't reach your dream or you didn't get what you wanted. But I guess what is important is think of what's in store for you. There might be something better waiting. Um, you're going through that dark night of the soul. Just remember that at the end of the tunnel, there's light, there's rainbow, and I always like remind myself you hit rock bottom, there's no other way but up. So rather than stay there stagnant, for so long, find a way to regain your strength, to regain your life, and live a life that you deserve.
Yeah, I've been a Unitarian for a long time. I always tell people I was a born Unitarian, just the way and when I first came to the Philippines, the first person I really saw that was Filipino and was Jose Rizal. I mean, first thing, I'm going for a walk and there's his statue. And right away, I'm like, oh my God. Rizal lived at the same time as Emerson and Thoreau, and I know all their writings. And I'm reading Rizal, and I'm like, oh my God, he's Emerson and Thoreau. They lived at the same time. They were the same person. And when I talk of people being UUs, Voltaire said we exist in every time and in every culture. And it's just a way of thinking that well, Unitarian means all from one force, and universe is a primary energy form. So our movement's really scientific in its name. Anyway, I'm glad I got a chance to talk. I hope everybody can make it Sunday. I hope I can make it Sunday. Yeah. So anyway, I'm looking forward to my new adventure, which is sharing a science book with kids and giving them a chance to make some money. And it will need adults. Each book, if an adult if you have a kid, that's in grade 5 or 6, and actually there are kids in grade 1 that could do grade 6. I mean, when I was in grade 1, I was able to do grade 2. So anyway, that's my hope. Yeah. Bye. Yeah.
Okay, thank you so much, Reverend. Reverend. So sorry, that was close. Thank you so much, Dr. Ray McKnight, for sharing about the side, dark night of the soul. Yeah, it was an interesting topic. We get to share our dark night as well. Anyway, let's proceed to our closing hymn. One more step. One more step, we will take one more step till there is peace for us and everyone. Take one more step, one more word, we will say one more word till every word is heard by everyone. We'll say one more word, one more prayer. We will say one more prayer till every prayer is shared by everyone. We'll say one more prayer, one more song. We will sing one more song till every song is sung by everyone. We'll sing one more song. Please stand for those who are able to stand for our closing prayer.
Let us pray. Most gracious and loving God, we give thanks for this time together, our hearts open and minds willing. May the words we shared, the thoughts we pondered, and the kindness we received guide us as we go into the world. Grant us courage to act with compassion, wisdom to understand each other, and patience to honor the journey of all. May we walk forward in peace, respecting all paths, all faiths, and all people. Let unity, justice, and love be our guide. And so, in gratitude and hope, we go forth. Amen.
Amen. Amen. Amen. Help us to be the always hopeful gardeners of the Spirit, who know that without darkness nothing comes to birth, as without light nothing flowers. Good evening.
Good evening.
Maayong hapon gabi.
What kind of religion are you running? You didn't tell people to give money.
Ay, yeah,